I hope so. I hope my audio is good. Alright, people! Time for another painting. I think this is going to be the last one in my virtual gallery for Men's World Magazine. I'm going to write a visual essay for it. Yo, sup? Is my audio good? Please tell me if the audio is good. I think it is, Let me just... Alright, today, this is just, as always, I a super basic sketch with charcoal. And right now I'm just going to, let me review the colors. I did that last time, just for posterity. Let me get the wire going here. Okay, so, moving over. We have your super basic, that's my gray pot. I always throw in the extras to create different colors. I have Mars Black, white, this medium from Grumbacher, that's like a transparency medium, but I'll probably use modeling paste later. As always, ultramarine blue, iron oxide, and instead of Indian yellow, I have, what's it called? Naples Yellow mix, or Naples Yellow hue. A hue is a mix of different colors to approximate an actual color. So for example, every alizarin crimson you get is a hue because the original pigment of Madder Lake is what they call a fugitive pigment, meaning that it's not going to hold up over time. Like, for example, a lot of the old masters, that quote-unquote old masters glow, a lot of that comes from the fact that the pigments wore off over time because they were using Madder Lake, which was the... crimson was like the favored red color. And I usually use alizarin crimson permanent because it's just such a versatile color. But what I wanted to do today... Actually, I have no brushes. What am I doing here? What I wanted to do today is follow up a discussion that I did last stream, and then maybe I'll go to something a bit less, how shall I say, neurodivergent. I wanted to discuss, since everyone's going nuts about CM Punk defeating Darby Allin in MLW, I wanted to talk about how Combat Zone Wrestling, even before Ring of Honor, really created that indie style and really gave a template to a lot of the indie-rific darlings that people would later on come to know and love. That whole school of Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, who am I? Basically, the modern hybrid style of what people refer to as lucharisu, which is the combination of Japanese and Mexican style wrestling. A lot of those people started off before they even went to Japan. They started off in Combat Zone Wrestling. A lot of the more prominent high flyers started off there before they went to companies like Total Nonstop Action and before they went to various places in Japan and Mexico. So you have people I'm just laying down the darks first in this one. I might not go too abstract. It depends how I feel. But basically you have wrestlers like Sanjay Dutt, Amazing Red. I think even Teddy Hart started off there, but then he had a problem with John Zandig. You were talking about anything without relating it to Wrestling Challenge? Impossible. Yeah, well, I'll do it really quick, but basically my thesis is that Combat Zone Wrestling, through their Best of the Best tournament, really helped develop what we know nowadays as like the premier like indie style that has culminated into for good or for bad, of course, like I have my qualms with the company, but it's culminated into like all elite wrestling. So you have like a lot of these wrestlers. You have like Amazing Red is a good example because there you have he started off with his cousins there with the SAT, the Spanish announce team, Jose Maximo, and I forget the other guy's name. But he like promptly went to when it was NWA TNA, he like went there. You have like a lot of wrestlers that were willing to like take really stupid risks, and like John Zandig basically like let them do it at the time, like when no other company. Because you got to remember, like wrestling still in the early 2000s was still a bit conservative in terms of the quote unquote vanilla midget styles. You have like a lot more of like traditional things, and the WWE at the time was starting to expand a little bit. Like you had like some like shows like Heat and Velocity that were like willing to put on the quote unquote cruiserweights or whatever, but it was still like largely the domain of bigger wrestlers. And of course, like CZW, they were known, of course, for the deathmatch wrestling. Zandig brought a lot of that stuff over from Japan to America, and there's actually like this really funny. There's this really funny story about when CZW went to Japan for the first time, went to Big Japan Wrestling, because what happened was, as everyone knows, like, what are they called? Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling, FMW, they sort of like went by the wayside, and they like went out of business, and Oneida, their owner slash champion, he owed a lot to the Yakuza. Really like screwed up stuff that was happening. Like basically the Yakuza, they owned like the lion's share of both professional wrestling and martial arts promotions. Like even like Pride, they owned I think like Dana White even had to like pay off. Even had to pay off the Yakuza to take like the Pride rights. So what happened was Big Japan Wrestling sort of like filled the void of the death matches in Japan, and a lot of the old guys were still there. Like Matsunaga was basically doing the booking. Mr. Pogo, like a lot of the old school guys were still over there. And so what happened was John Zandig saw an opportunity, and he marketed himself as like this big American promotion, even though they were only around for like, I think 2 years at that point, doing like, gymnasiums and stuff. And what he did was, there was this partner that told the owners of Big Japan, they're like, no, this guy's full of shit, don't trust him. But for some crazy reason, they gave John Zandig control of the booking, and he just like, he started to like bury all of the old wrestlers. He like treated them like total J-Browns. He would book all of the CZW guys to the moon, because at the time, what was happening was the Deathmatch Survivors Tour tournament, and that's where he got the idea for the Tournament of Death. And he basically booked himself to win, and he booked himself against like all of the top stars like Matsunaga, Mr. Pogo, Ryuji Yamakawa, like all the old guys. He basically like ruined them more or less, and he like almost like was on the verge of destroying Big Japan before like their current crop of stars came along, like Ryuji Ito. And then Jun Kasai. Like, Jun Kasai was the only guy that he didn't bury because he took a liking to him. So then what happened was, so then he basically, like, pieced it in the middle of, like, their tour. And he's like, yeah, we're going home. We can't do anything anymore. And he, like, left. I think he even tried to bury the champion at the time that was the deathmatch champion, which was like the even more important than the heavyweight champion, was Tomoyaki Honma, who then later on had like a dispute with Big Japan, and then he ended up in New Japan. So then he became really popular in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Even though like nowadays he's not like that active because he suffered a neck injury and he's getting older and stuff. But then he became like really popular in New Japan. He became like the lovable baby face. So anyways, Combat Zone Wrestling, they had this thing called the Best of the Best tournament, which was their tournament when they had the Tournament of Death, which is of course hugely important for deathmatch wrestling. But in terms of like pure wrestling with like very technical wrestling plus high flyers, they had the Best of the Best tournament. And there you had like winners like Super Dragon, you had like Kevin Steen at the time, before he became, Kevin Owens. You had like a lot of these guys who then later on went to Ring of Honor, and they became like quite big. And another thing too is that it's very unfortunate because he died later. He died like before his star could come. Was Trent Acid was like one of the main stars in Combat Zone Wrestling, and he what Trent Acid did, he basically helped invent that like the very common like indie-rific style you have nowadays. You have like that mixes these different like lucha libre with like a little bit of technical wrestling with a little bit of this, a little bit of that. He basically helped invent that. But then like unfortunately he was a heroin addict, and he suffered an overdose, and before he could go, like he was one of the first people to actually go to Ring of Honor. And he, many people don't know that because they look at people like AJ Styles and CM that as like, but way before even like AJ Styles was in Ring of Honor, you had Trent Acid and his partner Johnny Kashmere. They were part of the most popular tag team at the time, the Backseat Boys. So CZW, they're not just known for like the deathmatch stuff. They actually did help contribute a lot to what we know nowadays as indie wrestling. And a lot of the stuff you could see, like that, they were doing this stuff way before. Like they were doing all the crazy moves off of scaffolds and taking these huge bumps and huge risks. Like that was all there, Like it was a lot of the stuff you see nowadays, and even like AEW, that stuff's all played out, Like you had guys like Sanjay Dutt and Amazing Red like doing this stuff years ago. Anyways, I should talk about the painting actually. So enough about that, like autistic fit. I see Paul talk in the chat. So yeah, I'm doing this for Man's World magazine. I'm just doing like it's a guy at the beach. It's just a really quick torso study, and I don't know if I'm going to do that much of a background because I do like that color. But I'm just like really trying to hammer in the different parts to see what works and what doesn't. I'm just like when you look at them as a series, you'll know what I mean. They become more distinct. But yeah, I just wanted to do a quick stream. Another thing too, I wanted to do this video on issues of anxiety and like medicalization and what the Bible says about anxiety. I wanted to do a live stream actually, but I'm still like fumbling with OBS, and I think I'm just gonna like do a video that I'm going to like try to convince people is not being edited. But because it's a struggle that I have throughout my life. I've been a very anxious person, but I think like the approach to it that a lot of people have has been sort of taken over by like the psychomedical medicalized industrial complex. So I'm trying to get maybe a bit more of the Naples Yellow into his chest plate, the bottom, what do they call it? The below the delts, the V shape. I'm trying to like hammer in that V shape. His like above the crotch, you have that section. It's like a subtle, like it's a subtle yellow, but I think I'm just gonna like work it in more. And of course up here, like I think I'm just gonna make his chest like fade out. The chest, it's kind of interesting when you see like a sunbather. The colors usually, a lot of the flesh tones become more distinguished between like the reds and the yellow hues, the ochres. So I'm just trying to I'm gonna have to like bring down that shadow. But I wanted to expose, like, the whole point of the Man's World series is I'm writing this like, and of course like his chest trap here, sorry, his bicep trap. I wanted to do this like really theory cell type of article. It'll look much prettier when I take the tape off, of course. I forgot to do that last stream. I know people love to see the tape being pulled. One of my favorite watercolor artists, Salvador Castanet, he says, oh, that's the best part, when they pull the tape off. And of course, so there's this beaming light in his below the bicep, his chest, below the solar plexus. There's a lot of light here, and there's of course spacklings of light here. So I think I'm just going to do a lot of, actually, can I see the chat? Live chat, all messages are visible. Yeah, there you go. Keeping the colors bright, winning move. Paul Tug, I don't know if that is, fucking, I don't know if that's a botta, as we say in Italian. But no, I'm going to reinforce these darks, I think. It's just that when you have like a sunbather, it's kind of difficult. I might do the background, because the background in the reference photo is quite it's quite like turquoise-ish. So I think I'm just going to actually, I have to accentuate the shoulder a bit more if I want to make it a bit more convincing. So there you go. No, that's too bright. Where's my rag? There you go. There you go. So yeah, these are just like really darks full of color too. Yeah, see the darks. I remember there was this. I know you don't like him, Paul, but the illustrator and painter, what's his name, Dan Nelson. He's like, he talked about like contiguous color, but also like when it comes to the darks, like when people refer to muddy colors, they mean like darks that are too heavy and too darks have to have a bit of transparency, and they have to have a bit of verve to them. Like darks are always the question of like, oh well, should it be like color matching or not? I personally am more of a tonalist when it comes to darks. Like I appreciate tonalism a bit more. I think like straight up impressionism, like so many people just do it bad. They just have this like gaudy. It's like this. It's they like use directly from the tube, and it's yeah, also yeah, the light, when the light isn't very good. Yeah, they like go directly to the tube, and they like just like use straight up like a bit of violet, any violet tone with like ultramarine blue. I think like, yeah, I like dramatic darks a bit more. And of course I'm not afraid to use black. Oh god. See, I have to be careful because I want his pecs to go over a bit more. Because there's just like a little bit of light here I have to fill in. And then, of course, bringing down his crest. Yeah, bring it down to there. And I have to reinforce some of the darks. There's a little bit of dark on his chest, but just to like differentiate. And then I think I will switch up. Okay, I'm just grabbing another brush here. Oh, there you go. Okay. Because that connects to his bicep. And I'm going to have to put a bit more light there just to make it more distinguishable. Okay. Okay, that's good. I'll have to like follow through with a bit more. A bit more dark. Okay. Head bone connects to the neck bone. Yeah, I think I'm just going to suggest the let's see. Okay. Bring the bicep over here a bit more. Like I said, these are just like abstract sketches, and I'm not that concerned about. I'm being a bit too finicky with the chest plate. I should actually. I'm trying to work on that chest a bit more. Let me just. I'm just finding the right tone to just like make that shape a bit more distinguished. So let's see here. I might have to add a bit of alizarin crimson. I think I'm going to do that. Just there's some part, or actually I'm going to use naphthol, but I'm going to have to like bring it down a bit more. Not abstract. No, yeah, I mean it is abstract. That's just semantics, Paul. I'm going. Yeah, I'm just gonna add like a little tiny bit of naphthol, which is an industrial pigment, but it's a bit more light. It's more light fast, and it's a way harsher than crimson, but it's also more neutral. But you can get a lot of great flesh tones. You just have to like beat it back a little bit with some like blue hues. It's really you don't want to like mess around with an naphthol. It's just too fire engine red. There you go. That's a good. See, look, already you could tell like it's the tones are a bit darker. So there's just a bit of like that dark shade in his chest. I think I'm gonna have to lighten it a bit. There you go. I'm just gonna keep it darker. Like I'm not too concerned with like photo color matching. It's just like to keep a lot of the different shapes. Plus, I'm gonna have to like work on his chest too to make them ripple a bit more, to make that like cup shape in his his six pack he's got going there. There we go. Just a little, just a little nudge in the right direction to make that V. Okay. So tomorrow I don't think I can break the rules because frankly it's in 7 in the morning. I'm gonna try to make it, but I feel bad because like Styx Hexenhammer, he had like this really bad take that I don't agree with at all on the whole Texas thing. But of course, he's like a libertarian and all that, so I don't hold that against him. It's just that my own personal morality, like that's the thing. Like when people are literally devolving into shut up, Paul Talk. BTR is not a bore. Come on, bro. When people devolve into like literal eugenics arguments about human life. No, Styx isn't a Satanist. He says he's not. He's more of like an occultist, apparently. Like he tries to not denounce, like he tries to like disassociate from the whole like Satanist label. I don't know. It's cringe either way, but not cringe either way. I shouldn't say that. Yeah, I mean, I was watching him today, where he was discussing that vile, hideous creature, T.J. Kirk. And I do appreciate his him going after T.J. Kirk, the amazing atheist, about like being a sellout and like welcoming the YouTube censorship and all that stuff. I don't know, like Styx is a funny character. I don't know. I don't. I try not to hold people's cringe opinions against them, but I don't know. I don't know what to do, bro. Apparently, not a lot of people can handle free and open discussion like a certain Iranian scholar, but without getting into too much trouble. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just think like people like have to disabuse themselves of like wanting an internet daddy to like tell them what to do and to like tell them how to think. Like, I need my internet daddy to tell me that, this is based and this is cringe. Like I have to I even have to remind myself sometimes that certain people, like, everyone's in it for themselves, and you can't really as much as I believe in forming friendships and meaningful connections with people, I've seen it too many times where people, they have a cult like slavish devotion to certain quote unquote content creators, and it's not very good. It's like it can really distract you from your own personal development. Because here's the thing, like when you become a Janny for an e-daddy, an internet daddy, then you yourself have to bargain with your own sense of subjectivity. He's into European side, is an Iranian side. Jorjani is, what is Jorjani? Qatar Turkmen. Paul Talk doesn't tell peeps what to do. He talks down to them. Yeah, that's the thing. That's one good thing I got to say about my man, Paul Talk, is that he actively eschews people wanting to slavishly follow him. I was watching the video you did on Godward, and I said it was like watching a son getting berated by his father. That was pretty, that was something else. Okay. I think I'm gonna have to like that bicep is way out of whack. I'm gonna have to tone it down. I love God. I'm trying to say Georgian ancestry in the region is more Khan than Shah. Yeah, but then he's got like a weird, like Georgiani has like a weird genealogy approach to that stuff. Like, it's one of those things. Like when someone is adamant about their belief, like the truth is, they probably still like will end up reading like some of his stuff or whatever. But the thing is, like, when you have to like take slights and strides sometimes, like you have to realize that people have their own agenda. And as difficult and as frustrating as it is, like the thing that pissed me off the most is just it robs our fans of something that we were promoting for months at that point. But in terms of it, like, if the guy's like kind of weird to begin with, so it's like, I don't know, I don't take it personally. Like it's one of those things where a good tip for people when it comes to people that have slighted you in some way, a good tip is to like literally not think about it, because the more you think about it, the more you're going to just find excuses to like dwell on it. And unfortunately, I have like the tendency to do that. So you have to really like take a firm look at like, okay, why does he get me angry? Like, why is this person pissing me off, or why do I find this person reprehensible? Like, there are some people I find just genuinely reprehensible, like, because I think they're terrible people. I don't think Georgiani's, like, as all the stuff he says about Abrahamic religions and all that, like, I don't know, I just think he's a weird dude. I don't, like, personally think he's, on a personal moral level, a terrible person. Like other people, Ethan Ralph. So I don't hold like this like super spurgy grudge against him. I just think that he's like misguided in certain opinions. I don't. It's not like I can't fault people for having their ticks, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm trying to bring the chest plate down here a bit more. Sometimes you just gotta take, you just gotta let it go. Like sometimes people are just convinced of, they're convinced of their worldview and that's it. Like it's not a matter of even taking personal offense to that. It's just, what are you painting on? I'm painting on gessoed watercolor paper on a watercolor paper board, but I'm at the last sheet now. Actually, I want to make this chest a bit blockier. I'm trying to nudge it more into a more shapely direction because this one I might have to bring the armpit crease over because it's just a bit too unruly. Anyways, yeah. So for people who don't know, like Giorgiani was supposed to come and break the rules, and at the very last minute, he contacted Lev, and he declined and said, "How dare you defend a Catholic? And all Abrahamic faiths should be Minecrafted." And then what happened was I offered to not do the stream if it was going to be that much of an issue. Like I was just going to feed Lev questions, but then Giorgiani didn't. Stopped responding, and then Lev was like, you know what, this is too far. And, because Lev is sensitive that way. I personally don't care. If it's like that much of a deal, like I care more about just like the fans getting what they wanted, Like I just don't care. It's like we've had worse dramas on Break the Rules, like the furries and the baby witches, and it's just like it's not even worth it after a while to get in these dramas. It's like I don't know. I try to avoid it. That's been my survival strategy. Giorgiani's problem is he learned far into being mercantile trickster that no one who engages with him works can possibly understand what it is that he is actually trying to convey. Yeah, I mean, I think like then he has like sort of like the weird, John Milton understanding of Satan in the Bible, to where he says like, stuff that his normal followers think is cringe, obviously. So it's just like I don't know. It's just he did the same thing to Joel Davis, when Joel Davis converted to Christianity. So I kind of knew it was going to happen in the back of my head. I was kind of like anticipating something like that happening, but I just, I just don't want to make a big deal out of it, to tell you the truth. Like, it's just not, it's stupid. Let's talk about something else, chat, while I'm painting away. What is big in the news? I don't know. Everything is just totally depressing. The only white pill that happened recently, of course, was the Texas ruling. Now they're saying like this is gonna happen all over America now. God, I hope so. I got to know what you're working with. I'm just using straight up. If you like go back on the stream, I go over my colors, but I'm just using like acrylic on gessoed watercolor paper. That's pretty much it, with a little bit of medium. That's what I'm rocking. Let's see. Yeah, I know I'm going to the same store. Just I'm getting distracted, Paul. I tend to like fidget with a lot of things. Let's see. Because I'm trying to like shape out this one chest plate. I'm gonna do a bit of the shines. If you're using acrylics, you can layer shit and fix it 100 times. Yeah, that's why I'm just too used to like layering everything and like fixing it. Whoa, that's too bright. That's too bright. Let me just tone it down a little bit. There you go. There we go. I'm trying to get his bead of light over there that I'm going to make a bit more yellowy. There you go. I think I made this part a bit too bright, so I'm going to have to just tone it down with some reds. There we go. I'm counting you becoming a true painter. Oh God. True painter, true printmaker. I do it all. I actually have neglected a bit of printmaking recently. I'm just been in the process of scanning everything. Okay. But yeah, tomorrow it's the live stream about the guy that was blacklisted from the public school or his kid or something like that. The Paul Rossi guy. Which I mean, Lev likes doing these streams, obviously. So you're using a limited palette, cringe. Yeah, I mean, I'm just so used to using a limited palette because, I mean, if I start using like a million different colors, it'll just get crazy, and it's always nice. Like I've bought into the meme that you should use a limited palette. That it really is beneficial to just get a hold of everything and to know where everything is, but also like to it's good because it solves a lot of problems even though you do have to mix more. It sort of trains your mind in a different way than if you were to use a high chroma palette. Now, usually when I'm doing landscapes, I do tend to use a split palette of worms and cools, but overall, I do tend to stick to a limited palette. But I will change up the colors. I'll replace my usual crimson with with oxides or quinacridone burnt orange or something like that. I do like to change things up. Right now, I'm just trying to hammer in the darks. I think I'm gonna go back to the darks. Okay, there we go. That's the thing. When like this guy has a very much what do they call it in not a twink but a more muscular, what they call it in the gay community, an otter. There you go. This guy's an otter. So I have to tread lightly when it comes to the different pectoral muscles. God, I can't believe I know that term. That's terrible. And let me see. I'm gonna have to do something with reducing his bicep here. It's too hectic. Let's see. Do I have? Let me just get some quick magenta. Have I ever played the board game Go? If you want to punch up your skin tones, you need a high chroma magenta. Yeah, I mean, for this particular one, I don't detect a lot of green, like a lot of those. I know the old masters, a lot of them would use Viridian green for different shades in the skin tone. But here, like just given the nature of the photo, I really don't. I don't detect any green. But let me just grab a brush really quick, just to make a good background color. There we go. So I'm going to have to. Usually, what I do with this series is that I'll make the backgrounds a bit more abstract. Yeah, just to like clean up. I didn't know he walked about it. We'll have to check it. Yeah. Magenta isn't a pigment. No, it's a hue. I think magenta pretty much. I forget what it comes from. I think the base thing is quinacridone, but I don't use a lot of magenta because I prefer the crimsons. But actually, yeah, his arm is fading off there. What am I doing? What am I doing? I have to bring it forward a bit more. There we go. Quinacridone, yeah, it's a pigment brew. Yeah, quinacridone, yeah. I like the mauve colors they give you, but I tend to stick, like, when it comes to my landscapes, about a good, like, I would say 60% of them are pretty much like cool tones, like a lot of ultramarines, a lot of cerulean. I really just tend to use the reds. Like, this series has forced me more to use a lot of the different warm tones that I don't. I'm sort of like coming out of my shell a little bit. So let's see. Azo and phthalo also not pigments but dyes. Yeah, Azo actually has an interesting history along with Naphthol as an industrial pigment that they discovered has about the same light fast ability. But some Azos, like Hana says, you have to watch in terms of light fastness, depending on the company. But I know bismuth is like another pigment that a lot of people rely on. I personally like Indian yellow. I like what they put in it, especially Liquitex. You should get The Rock and Hulk Hogan on the show to talk about WrestleMania. I actually knew I had well, not a friend, because the guy was a bit of an asshole, but I knew a guy that like went there at the time, and I think I watched it on pay-per-view. That really was such an iconic match. That really like defined that era of professional wrestling when the WWE was still like watchable. There was like still people like that came afterwards that were good, but that era really was like, my favorite. Like, you had the Hardy Boys, you had Rob Van Dam, Tajiri. I was like a big mark for like them and Chris Benoit, like all of that type of technical and high flying wrestling. Nowadays, I do appreciate the older stuff because I think it's a lot of that stuff has just been totally abused and overdone by people in AEW. It's just like it's not even funny at this point. So I should talk about something else. My God, because people, when they either like want you to do a live stream where you talk, or they painting is more of like asthma. Like, a lot of people, I actually wanted to do that. I think when I get my new computer, I'm going to do that more. I'm just going to do painting videos like through OBS, where you could like watch my palette and have Philip Daniel create ambient tracks for me. My friend Matthew the Stout, he does a bit of music. And I think I'm just going to like milk the normie viewership by doing painting videos with nice music, and just like, people can stymie out with them, if they... Oh my God. Stymie out. Oh boy. Oh, I see Paul Talk is already warring with someone in the comments. That's beautiful. Apparently Paul Talk said that he's going to do a video on my artwork, which I'm not too, I'm kind of like scared, but kind of brimming with anticipation at the same time. So we'll see what happens. Oh, that's too red. That is too red. My God, there you go. Get that nice bicep. That's delightful. Quinacridone dyes exist. I don't deny this. Yeah. Let me just. There you go. I think I'm just going to. Let's see. I'm going to use my palette knife for some of it, at least. Oh, where can I do it? Just to make these darks contiguous to connect with each other. What did you say to me? What did you say to me, boy? Palette knife cringe? I don't... Actually, this I'm gonna have to accentuate this bicep too. That's like too big of a transition, you know. Okay. Let's see. There we go. Just to compensate for that dark over there. Actually, I might do a little bit underneath. I'm going to have to keep this shadow warm because it's right directly underneath his armpit. But I think I might cool down because in the photo he's touching this like turquoise beach ball. So I'm going to have to like maybe put some a bit more cool darks over there. And maybe like near his head I might have to keep it like because it's like I like people that do like portrait work, they have like very complex formulas, and I'm not I'm like not that great when it comes to like I'm more of a landscape painter. Obviously that was my initial thing. Actually that is way too blue. Holy crap. Gonna have to tone it down. Okay. Oh, there you go. That's better. That's better. But here I have to keep the cross plate warm. I might keep the center neck darker. That'll be better. There you go. And there's just a little bit here. Maybe here. No. Okay. I'm just trying to clean my breath. That's another bad habit I have is like I prefer to clean up my brushes in between instead of like having a million like it depends what situation you're at. Like I know plein air painters, they will have like a million different brushes because it's just more convenient that way, especially when you're like out in the bush, you know. But me, like I have the luxury of cleaning my brushes here, obviously. Oh god, I'm trying to just get. I'm moving the pecs down more, and I'm going to accentuate his abdominal six pack a bit more. There you go. Okay. And then just a little bit of highlight just to reveal his this throbbing vein going across. Is this a Giga Chad? Well, okay, let me give you some background on the series that I'm doing for Man's World magazine. I'm basically taking photos from Bronze Age Pervert when he used to be on Twitter. He did the series Handsome Thursday. So I'm basically taking photos from various body bros that follow Bronze Age Pervert, and I'm doing these abstract representations of them. There you go. I had to follow through in the arm. His arm is a bit more square here. So that's basically that's the basis of what I'm doing here is the Handsome Thursday photos. And some of them are really great. Like some of them, of course, they don't take the best photos, so I have to like compensate. So let's see here. There you go. That's a bit of highlight over here. And I'm going to actually, wow, that's, yeah, there you go. I have to make the abs a bit more shapely. And yeah, his pecs are hanging down a bit more here, so I'm gonna have to shape them out a bit more. There we go. Instead of just like straight up Naples Yellow. So it's coming along good. It's just I have to be cautious of like what tones I'm putting where. Okay. Oh my God, Paul, do you have to fight with everybody? Holy crap, bro. It's time to stop. It's time to stop. Um Oh, this is why I love Paul Talk, because he can't help himself from Paul talking down to people. Apparently it's Labor Day. When you're a NEET, you really don't know about the days and the. So I'm gonna do a barbecue after this. Is everyone going to grill today? Are you going to grill? Because apparently Labor Day. I mean, when you're living La Nita Loca, you really don't care about the different, oh, it's Labor Day, I get off work, oh my God. Like, bro, you're in a wagey cagey. Come on, bro. I shouldn't be that insulting, but I can't help myself. I see these people in the wagey cages. I can't help myself. They're in the wagey cages. I try to tell myself that they're normal human beings, but imagine if like Donald Trump, if he was still president, if he like just came out and been like, yeah, the wages, we have to have a national siesta, you know, you can't have the wagey cages anymore, and then Donald Trump would unironically be the most Marxian president in human history, in all of American history besides FDR. He will he will complete the system of Marxist Hegelianism by waging war on the workday if Donald Trump was still elected. So that's what would happen. Complete the system of German idealism. I wonder what he's doing right now. I shouldn't. Again, I'm just talking smack. I shouldn't talk about people that are, So I think this painting's coming along nicely. I'm just figuring out like what I want to keep and what I don't want to keep. So there we go. He's pressing his pants, telling BLM about their babies. Oh God. One thing I wanted to do, I was talking about on my channel how I wanted to do this video about anxiety and modern response to it. One thing that Heidegger says about anxiety, and I'll talk about this in the video, is that anxiety isn't simply like a surface level feeling, but rather it's an engagement with being itself. It is what grounds you in your existence and reflecting what it means to even be a person who experiences what Heidegger called care, or Sodan, meaning that you are thrown into the world and you have a care or a concern about the happenings around you. So anxiety is more complex. It's much more of a barometer of your own sense of being for Heidegger. So I'm trying to figure out, maybe I should bring that color in more. So I wanted to also in the video talk about how anxiety, the way that we know it, is this like particularly millennial phenomenon, that the millennial experiences a huge shift in their perceptions as they grow older, they are the creatures of anxiety because they are the ones who were brought into an age of transition from one episteme to another. So, actually, I'm going to have to, his upper chest muscles, I'm going to have to bring up a bit more because it goes like this. So I'm going to have to bring them up. Actually, let me adjust. Let me see if they get closer for you. Let me just move the camera. There you go. There we go. See if I can paint over that. Let's see what the chat is saying right now. Is the theory cell language? Dumb it down, bro. Okay, so, oh God, how can I dumb this down? So essentially, anxiety is the worriment for Heidegger over your place in the world, in your own situation. So in some ways, anxiety is almost not necessarily a positive, but it's something that tells you that you're on your way towards what Heidegger calls authenticity, because you actually care about your position and your place within the world. So, yeah, anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. Well, see, that's the thing, because Jean-Paul Sartre, he got that from Heidegger. Because I know, Sartre, he later, spurred out about freedom. But to Heidegger, he wasn't thinking in terms of freedom. He was very much a right-wing thinker in that sense. Heidegger was more so thinking about how we engage with the world and how our own sense of anxiety over our events that are happening around us in the world, how that is a way to deliver us towards what he called authenticity, meaning that we are fully immersed in what our purpose and our place is in the world, and that we are it's hard to describe authenticity, but for now, let's take what Jean-Paul Sartre said about freedom is the anxiety is the dizziness of freedom, meaning that we are free in the 20th century, in the modern age. We are this, and here's where I think existentialism is G-slur and cringe, because he's making this big deal about how we're free to do what we want because now we live in the age of disenchantment and there is no gods and no masters and therefore we are condemned to freedom, like Eric Fromm says. This is what the existentialists believed, which I think is kind of BS, but basically, what he means by the dizziness of freedom, it means that we are left without direction. We are left without what civilization used to provide in terms of our placement within the world and our placement within human society and how we engage with one another. And so religion, especially Christianity in Europe, provided us the stability of being. It provided us a way in which we engage with the world, in a way in which we engage with each other, and in the way in which we engage with creation to begin with. But in the absence of the sacred, which is a good book, by the way, in the absence of the sacred, we are left with deciding these things for ourselves. This is what the existentialists claim. Now, I think it's BS, but, they make too much about human freedom because they say, oh, well, there's this one part in Being in Nothingness, which was Jean-Paul Sartre's magnum opus, where he says, I'm going on a walk in the morning in the Seine, I think it was, and I have this, I'm on a cliff face, I'm hiking, and then I look over the cliff and I see nothing. And nothing is stopping me from just jumping off the cliff and meeting his fate. And he said, no human compulsion is, nothing's compelling me from not doing that. It's just, I don't know. I think existentialism was a huge step back from what Heidegger was trying to do. And I think, and what Nietzsche was trying to do. And I think people that take existentialism seriously on an academic level are just cringe, in my opinion. But that's just me, that's just me being a based epic trad. But I do think that the existentialists made too much out of human freedom, in my opinion. Being in stupidity, magnum opus. Being in stupidity. It's funny you say that, Paul, because one of the last interviews before Heidegger died in the 70s, he did this interview with Hubert Dreyfus. And Hubert Dreyfus was the great commentator and translator of a lot of these works. And he had Being in Nothingness, which was Sartre's book on the table. And so Hubert Dreyfus, being cheeky, he's like, well, did you read Being a Nothingness? Because like Sartre, he borrows from your work, right? And Heidegger looks at Hubert Dreyfus and he's like, oh, I can't read this book. It's terrible. I can't even get through it. so, so Heidegger BTFO'd Jean-Paul Sartre. And, Heidegger was quite the Chad back in the day, eh? Like he, Hannah Arendt was his, I know people like look at her as like a lib or whatever, but like Hannah Arendt's a pretty good read. She was his secret lover, and she was going out with Karl Jaspers, the great Christian and Jewish existentialist. And Heidegger basically cucked him. And can I say cuck on YouTube? And like he would like go over to his house and like have these elaborate speeches about how that certain party in Germany was the greatest, and it's hilarious. This is hilarious. Like such a Giga Chad move. I'm kidding, but Heidegger really was a Giga Chad. He was when he grew up, he was devoted to the same woman his whole life. He was devoted to his wife, and he lived in the same spot in near Friedberg. He took a walk every day, and he lived in the Black Forest in this cabin because he gave up his position in Freiburg after that certain party fell. He freely gave up, which is another thing that people don't know, is that he gave up his position out of embarrassment. And I know people, they make this thing about, well, as soon as you start reading Heidegger and Nietzsche, you become a an F slur, you know what I mean? So he gave up his position in Freiburg, and he exiled himself to the Black Forest, and he lived out his days writing pretty much and living in a cabin, and he really was the Giga Chad of philosophy in the 20th century. But a lot of people nowadays, it's very fashionable to quote unquote cancel Heidegger. It's funny because when I was in university, I went to this lecture by the same professor that ousted Michael Millerman. And he wrote this book where he basically said that if you read Nietzsche and Heidegger, you become a NSDP, whatever, person. So I went up to talk to him because I was the second reader for my master's thesis was the organizer. And she was actually one of the first political theory professors that was a woman in Canada. But she was pretty good, though. Like, I mean, she was a Hannah Arendt scholar, but she wasn't like a cringe liberal. Like, she would, my supervisor in university when I was in political science was like a hardcore postmodernist. So she would like get into a tussle with him all the time, every day, about like, a lot of this, social justice stuff. So she was pretty cool. But then I got to actually talk to this professor who was the guy that kicked out Michael Millerman. And I mentioned Michael Millerman. I was brave enough to do that back then. And he's like, oh, it's all terrible. It's all fascist. It's all this and that. And I just like kept saying like, what about Evola? What about him? What about him? And he's like, no, this is all terrible. My God, you have to read more. And it was kind of funny, actually. And I'm like, oh my God, now I know why Michael Millerman is like, Did you see how he drooled over Dugin? Well, here's the thing. I don't consider myself like a quote-unquote Duginist, but there are certain things that Dugin says. Like me and Lev, we get into this all the time. There's just certain things that Dugin says that I agree with, that I think he's got an analysis on. But I'm much more reserved about Dugin than I was. There's this great perennialist. His name is Charles Upton. He wrote this book called Dugin Contra Dugin, which is critiquing the works of Alexander Dugin from a perennialist perspective. And he talks about how Dugin sort of skips over a lot of the Islamic influences on perennialism for, obvious reasons. And he because Charles Upton, he's a white guy, but he's also a Sufi, a practicing Sufi Muslim. And I have almost all of his books. You should really look up his book. It's called Vectors of the Counter Initiation. That's a really, I may actually review or do a video on Charles Upton's work. I know he had a YouTube channel. But no, Millerman's a great guy. I like him. I want to get him on Break the Rules. But, Lev, he has this thing about Alexander Dugin, of course. He's like, Lev has this thing where he's like, well, all the people I know in Russia and academia, they all look down on Dugin as like, not very bright or whatever. But I don't know. That's just Lev making too much of it, I feel. He always gets offended. Like, you could see his face turning as soon as I mention Alexander Dugin. It's hilarious. But no, I do it. The difference being is that me and Lev, we can disagree with each other when we have to, It's all good. It's all cool. Some people can't do that, obviously. And another thing too, apparently, this Thursday is the Kill Stream episode where Keith Woods and my buddy Joel Davis, they're going to debate Logo and Has on Marxism. And I just, I feel bad because, I felt like as much as I don't like, as much as I don't like Ethan Ralph, I think, I tried to get the debate happening on BTR, but then there's just, problems with it and scheduling and stuff. So, unfortunately, I got snookered, but what are you going to do? Do I have a dream guest for BTR? I have a few of them. I mean, of course, if you want to do, the total, to the moon dream guests, of course, Alex Jones or whoever. But in terms of, attainable guests, I always wanted John David Ebert on, of course, but of course, he's going through a lot right now. So I don't know how feasible that is. I know people that know him that could make it work. It's just, he's going through some stuff right now. But in terms of dream guests, I mean, I don't know, it's hard to say. I think, maybe Dugin, but of course that probably never happened. I don't know, dream guests. I think, that's a tough one, actually. Because I'm trying to think of, guests that we possibly could achieve, in terms of getting guests that can pull in views and that would actually be willing to come on. It's hard to say. I think, probably, someone, great artist. One dream I always had was, if and he was in the National Arts Club, so maybe Lev could make this happen. One of my dreams was to actually, unironically, get Jerry Saltz, the art critic, on, so I could debate him and just totally shred him, and that would be a great stream to get Jerry Saltz on. I think people would find that hilarious. I'd probably be nice to the old fool, but dream guest. I'm trying to think. I would love to have. I guess John Michael Greer, someone big. I'm trying to think of bigger people that I would want to have on BTR. I think John Michael Greer is in our grasp. I mean, we have a good relationship with Meta Nomad, and he's always on Meta Nomad's podcast. Tell me, what guests would you want to see? I think Millerman would be interesting just to talk to him about Heidegger, but in terms of I don't know. I'm trying to think. Shadman. Oh my God, Shadman. Well, I think he knows some of the old Newgrounds people, so Lev could potentially get him on. Paul Talk, I'm waiting to be talked down to. JDE stream when would be epic. Yeah. I'm gonna see if I'm actually going to reach out to two people I have in mind, my buddy Russell Walters and of course Joel Davis. They both know John David Ebert pretty well. So I'm going to see like our schedule, what's going to happen. Because I really do want to talk to John David Ebert, specifically about his book Art After Metaphysics. So right now I'm just going to put the shines on, and I think I'm going to wrap up soon. But I don't know. See, as soon as I go on air, I'm struggling to think of what to talk about. But I'm just vibing, bros. I'm just vibing. There's a lot of, there's the usual like drama nonsense going on Twitter or whatever. But I tend to, I don't know. I just think it's stupid. Like, people are going after each other. You work for Peter Thiel? Like, oh, it's funny. It is funny. I wish Peter Thiel would give me money, bro. I wish. What's going on outside right now? I don't know. I think my neighbor is just doing... I live next to an apartment, like a small, like, shotgun apartment. So I don't know what they're doing right now. Can you teach me? I saw that Thielbucks breakdown this morning. The Thielbucks breakdown. I feel bad that Imperium Press got caught up in that because Imperium, like Dave is a great, Mike is a great guy from Imperium Press, and I think they're a great publisher. And I don't know. There really has been sort of like a lack of direction in the like online Twitter right as of late, and I don't know. It's hard just keeping to yourself sometimes. It's like really, So I'm going to start just doing some of the edges, like spacing, like fixing them a bit more. So let me just... As for like recent events, I don't know, like it's just the same old depressing stuff. Like I'm really just tired of hearing about it every day, I'm tired of hearing about the Backstreet Boys World Tour that's going on. I'm just tired about what they're doing here in Canada. I've just had it, it's also tiresome, fans. It's also tiresome, bros. It's just, yeah. Paul Talk, please acknowledge me. Please respond. It's just, I just don't know. I think in any other time in human history, I think, apart from like some black swan events, people pretty much knew the direction that things were going to go. They knew it sort of in their hearts, but nowadays I truly feel that the only good thing that we have going for us is we truly don't know what's going to happen down the pipe within the next month or even the next week. It seems that there's a continuation of history, that we're seeing a reintroduction of history itself, and that we're going to experience the blowback of what it means to be a historical subject. So get used to being in history again. I know us millennials, we weren't used to it for quite some time, but get used to being a subject of history again. That is what I would say. But then again, it's like, I know people, they desperately want, like even me included, I just said it, people desperately want to reaffirm the like thesis that Mark Fisher was wrong and that history is going to come again, and that, the whole post-Cold War liberal consensus is wrong, and that, things are going to become dramatically different, and that there's a possibility of things becoming dramatically different. I personally think that you have to separate what is authentic expressions of difference in terms of politics and culture and so forth, and you have to like separate that from what is just like media distractions, more or less, like what is just designed to capitulate to your attention what is designed to be a fake, like, pseudo event, as Baudrillard called them. You have to be cautiously optimistic about the return of history, if you know what I mean. So I like how I'm highlighting the striations of his form and his mass. What did you say? History's been kicking me around forever, Paul Talk, and now Grinny is biting my ankle. Such is life. Cyber Ninja Zero, like I said last vid, writings on the wall for the global American empire, the GE, which means History Part 2 is inevitable. And whatever's going to happen to History Part 2, we don't know. Like, it could be good, or it could just be, like, that the nation state itself breaks down, and we're going to see regional empires again. We don't know. Like, that's the part of it. Yeah, spliced. That is a play on words. The GAE, Global American Empire, is the gay, right? So that's a little clever wordplay over there. Actually, I forgot his bicep over here. What am I doing? There's the sort of under shield biceps here. I forget the exact term. But let me just quickly put them in. There we go. The canvas are just mediums to convey thoughts. Do you do people portraits? I draw portraits, but I have only... I did this like very rough abstract portrait of James Joyce as a commission. And I have yet to actually, like, honestly sink my teeth into actually trying to do portrait work. I'm cautious of it, but I'm getting better at drawing portraits, put it that way. Let me just adjust the camera just to give you a better view. Would you draw Mishima? I actually had an idea of doing an actual drawing or a woodcut even of Yukio Mishima when he did that performance piece where he's simulating Hirakiri or seppuku before he actually did it. He did this performance piece where he was simulating Hirakiri. So I might do a woodcut of that actually. That'd be pretty interesting. Even if I just like do like a faceless version, like I just do a body of him doing it. I think that would be a nice au revoir to a nice homage to Yukio Mishima. Yeah, see you, Paul Talk. I'm actually going to stop this soon. I think I did pretty well on this one. There's a few things I might change around here and there, but overall, I think like with the time I got, I did a decent job. I don't know. So I'm just going to like put in a bit more of the shines, and I will wrap it up. Let's do, okay. There we go. And there's a bit more here. Okay. Actually, let me just... I'm trying to just like kiss the shines on. And then on his bicep. A lot of times his mess, yeah. I have to just do it and not be too finicky about it, so. Okay, I think I'm approaching the end here. Okay. I think it's going to be time for the reveal. So let me just adjust the camera. Do I do sketches first? Yeah, I do sketches first, except for this series. I'm just doing it straight from a photo. But when it comes to my larger works, that I have this one painting that I want to do that is quite controversial, and it's from this protest I saw in Argentina. I did a woodcut of it. If you go to my Instagram, these activists, they had this protest where they literally give an abortion to Mary, and it's like, it's one of those things I saw that it was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. And I figured that I already did the one Femen protest where they chainsawed that cross in Kiev. You could find it on my Instagram. I will put the links like later on. And I wanted to do a follow-up to that where it's going to be these like feminist protesters that are like surrounding Mary like these demons. And they actually give like the hands up, like the peace sign, like the really demonic stuff. And behind it, I'm going to have in this painting, I'm going to have like this apocalyptic sky, and it's going to have a little piece of Notre Dame burning in the background. And I'm going to have like this emaciated lion to symbolize the Lion of Christ. And I know it's going to be a really controversial work. I've been planning it for almost a year. I've been doing sketches and stuff, but it's going to be one of my bigger works. It's actually going to be, I think, I want to say 20 by 30 or something. It's going to be a bigger work, and it's going to be terrible. And I'm going to like have to write something to explain myself as to why I would be doing this ghastly and demonic painting. Because I think like the way that a lot of the Baroque painters had to, in order to express a sense of divinity, they had to go deep within themselves to express the utterly demonic nature of evil. And I think that would be an occasion for it. So I'm just going to like do the, really quickly, the reveal, and then I'll wrap it up. So let's see here. Oh, so I don't bump everything. There we go. You can already see, like, I already love the edges. Yeah, acrylic is challenging because of the drying time, you know. It's always going to be a challenge because of the drying time. What's this I hear about mold bug dating again or something? I don't know. Let me just there we go. Okay. Just hold that in place. All right. Yeah, I use medium to decrease the drying time. There's actually, let me pull it out for you just to see what I mean. There's this great medium that where is it? There's this great medium that Liquitex makes. The problem is you don't want to do like what they call a retarder, because a retarder is an additive, and that will just stretch the paint film. So what you want to do is actually have a medium. So let me just, where is it? Here you go. This is what it's called. It's slow dry blending medium. This is an actual medium that will extend the drying time, and it will strengthen the paint film instead of just using a retarder. What's in it? It's basically like it's pure acrylic emulsion. So it's this is the fluid version. And if you want a heavy body, Liquitex also, I have it somewhere, but I think it's in my plein air kit. Liquitex makes a heavy gel version of the drying medium, so you can have a bit more body to it. So here's the last one. Da 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 da. Oh, there we go. Alex Jones drank it on his show. Alex Jones, my God, he punked. Oh, that was hilarious. Like, he truly is a modern visionary of our time. I will always stan Alex Jones. Really, he is, my God. Yeah, I think I can't say it on YouTube, the specific drug. But no, just look up a slow dry blending medium. Yeah, the retarder is fine if you use it in small amounts. That's true. So this has been another successful live stream. I actually think that this last one in the series is probably maybe not the best, but they'll have their different charms to them. But they hopefully I will be ready in time for the 4th volume of Man's World magazine, where I'm going to write a reflection on the series of works, but also on bodybuilding in general as it relates to the modern subject. It's going to be this like really like intense theory cell essay, hopefully, where I'm just like rambling off. But thank you for joining me, everyone. I love you all. As I have always said, let's see, God bless and goodbye.